Hey, this is Steve with Rayblock Auto Body Parts, and
This is Blake and Cody with Builder Kids.
that's right, we got the Builder Kids. So we are getting ready to build, you want to tell
A
them?
gantry crane.
A gantry crane. So this is a Pittsburgh Automotive gantry crane. Came from Harbor Freight, or we bought it at Harbor Freight. We looked at a couple different ones, Summit Jegs, Speedway, a lot of places carry the gantry cranes. Again, I've said this in other videos, Harbor Freight gets a bad rap for some of their hand tools, but some of the big stuff like this actually is really good, but depending on what you're doing. We're using it in just a home garage. We actually bought it, or I bought it, because we're getting ready to swap the motor out in the 53 Chevy pickup. So you can see we do have an engine lift in the back, but I kind of wanted the crane for other purposes. We have some other projects that we're going to be working on, like pulling the bed off of a 73 Ford pickup. This will make it easier because it will span the whole vehicle. So it's going to be wider than the vehicle, and you could roll it over it and you could lift the stuff out. So especially when we're doing an engine swap like this, it's going to be easier than using the engine lift because it'll go straight up and straight down, where the engine lift goes on a slight angle and you have to constantly adjust it. And we don't have to worry about having that clearance underneath the vehicle. So when we do this engine swap, we're going to leave the tranny in, so we don't have to worry about having that clearance for the wheels, the long wheels, and legs for the engine lift. So the gantry crane will go over top of it. The other thing that I liked, well, the one thing that I really liked, other than how beefy this crane is the casters. This was one of the main reasons I got the one from Harbor Freight instead of the Summit one and some of the other ones. This has steel casters, and you can actually move it around when you have a load on the crane. Where the Summit, the one that's sold by Summit and some of the other places, I think they have rubber casters or a different style of caster, and it specifically says do not move it, do not move the crane when you have a load on it. And this crane from Harbor Freight said you can move it. And I've read reviews and people did move it around, and looking at these casters, you can see it'll be, actually it should be pretty easy to move around on a flat surface. We just have a flat concrete pad, so it should be pretty easy to move around. So that'll be nice when we're doing the engine swap, because we can lift it up, slide it out of the way, bring it down, and then do the reverse to put the new one in. I don't know if you can see, this is the box that it comes in, so if you are going to pick this up, I picked it up, I got it in the back of my pickup truck. They will load it for you, but it is very large and very heavy. This thing actually looks like a coffin. Here, Blake, Blake will go in and he'll show you. Okay, can you get up in there? You want to lay down in it? There you go. I actually could probably lay in that thing. Probably someone 6 foot tall could probably lay in it. It is like a coffin. So that's the major piece. This other piece, which is the top I-beam, comes separately. Just wrapped in that cardboard, and then that's it. So we took everything out, we laid it out here, and then we're going to start putting it together. It looks like it should take, from what I've read, maybe about an hour or so to put together. So we're going to start putting it together, and then we'll show you what it's like at the end. Actually, maybe we'll do a time lapse and show you us mostly putting it together, and then we'll show you how it works once we put the trolley system on the top, and then we just have a chain hoist to put on it. We're going to do an electric winch on it, I think, later, but for now we're just going to do the chain hoist. So we're going to clear this out and start building. Okay, so we moved the truck, obviously got it out of the way. We got the pieces laid out the way the instructions said to do it. So it said to put one of the legs, or the uprights on this side, one on the other side, put your main beam across the top. And what it wants you to do is bolt the main beam to both of these on the top, get a sawhorse, lift, you need multiple people to do this, lift both sides up, put a sawhorse under the base of this unit, or base of the leg, so that everything's up on an angle like this, and then it wants you to bolt the casters to your feet part, the base, flip it, bolt it to this, bolt it to the bottom of the uprights, and then flip the whole unit up. If we had 3 or 4 people here, we would do that, but since it's just us 3, we're not going to do that because I think it's going to be too heavy and we're not going to be able to flip the whole thing up. So we're going to modify a little bit, we're going to see how this goes. We are going to bolt this side, or one side, together, so we're going to take the beam, we're going to turn it, we're going to bolt it to this. we're going to get the casters, all the casters on to the supports down there, to the legs. We are going to lift this side up, and we're going to bolt that whole section, that bottom section together. And then we're going to take the sawhorse out, and we're going to try to lift it so it's kind of almost like a teepee. We're going to get that side up, and if we can get that up, I'm going to take the other side over here. I'm going to stand it up. We're going to get the casters, we're going to get the feet and everything on first. But I'm going to stand it up, and I'm going to lean it against this set of shelves that's behind me. And then as the kids balance to the one side, we might even use some of the supports in the ceiling here just as a balance. I'm going to try to lift this part, the other part of the angle iron up, and set it up on top and then bolt it together. So we're going to see how that works. Unfortunately, in this garage, I designed it for maximum height, so I have a 10-foot ceiling, but I don't have any steel beams. If I did, we probably wouldn't even need the gantry crane. But if I had at least a beam up there, we would use that as our support and try to lift this up, and it would be a lot easier, but we don't. Again, which is why we got the crane. So we're going to try to go through all this and see if we can finagle it and get it to work. It's pretty straightforward. Blake has the tools in his hands that we need. We only need a 17 millimeter and a 19 millimeter wrench set and socket, so that's what we're going to use. All of the bolts that come with it are either 17 or 19. And that's it. And then for the casters, you do need a grease gun because there are grease fittings on each of those, so we're going to show you that. Once we get the casters bolted on, we'll grease the bearings up, and then we're going to start putting this together. Okay, so here's where we are right now. As you probably saw some of this, we have this upright that's behind me bolted to the base. We have the casters bolted onto it. The other base we bolted the casters onto. And then for the other upright that's closer to the screen here, we're getting ready to bolt it and the top I-beam together. So what we're going to do now though is we're going to grease the fittings for these casters so we can get the grease gun put away. And once that's done, we're going to stand this other upright up and support it against those shelves to get it out of the way. We want to make sure that's all in place and ready to go, so that way when this unit goes together, we can lift it up and then try to set it up on top of that. For builder kids, if you guys are interested in learning more about grease guns, what are we going to do?
We're going to make a separate video all about the grease gun if you want to learn how to use it.
That's right. So in the Builder Kids video series, they're going to show all the kids out there what a grease gun is and how to use it. We're going to skip that for the Raybuck video here, and we're going to get right to putting the rest of this together. Okay, we're back and we're getting ready to go to the next part of this process, at least the way that we're going to do it. You can probably see that there's some outfit changes. Kobe's wearing something different. We've done this over the course of a couple of days because we only get like 30 to 60 minutes at a time. It takes a little bit longer. And it took me a little while to figure out how to set this up so we could try to do it with just a couple of us. So like I was saying, the original instructions said to build the whole structure, tilt it up, put sawhorses under each side, put the legs on, and then try to stand the whole thing up. Even if you had a couple guys, I still think that's dangerous because I think once you start to flip it up, as soon as that inside caster hits, it's going to want to flip. The whole thing's going to want to flip up and something not good is going to happen. So what we're going to do, you can see I have a sawhorse under this end and we don't have this side bolted, we're gonna just try to set this side up to kind of make like a little teepee or a triangle out of it. I have some blocks on the floor, just some 6x6s. I don't know if you can see those. Just a couple 6x6s. And I did that so that when we turn it up, we're going to set this leg on those so that the casters don't kick out. Now this does have locking casters. I do have the one locked and it's on the lower side, so that'll be the one that catches first. I don't think it's going to kick out, but I'm putting the 6x6s here just in case, and it'll help stabilize it until we get this side set up. Once we get this up in the air, we're going to take those blocks out so that this side can roll. We'll unlock that caster, and then I'm going to lift that side up on top of this upright, this support. So you could probably barely see it out of the corner of the video here, but I did take the one support, put it against the shelving unit that we have here, and just bunge it to it to keep it upright, and I do have the caster locked on that side. And then I'm going to put, I actually have wedges under the other caster so that one won't move. So we're going to give this a shot. Kobe's going to stay down here and help make sure this base is stabilized. And I'm going to lift this corner up and we're going to see if this works. Okay. So when I lift it up, just make sure that those blocks are underneath of that. Okay, ready? Kick the other block. Okay, well that wasn't actually that bad. So we have it under here. We're going to take these blocks out. I'm going to unlock this caster for right now. Here, Kobe, get this one. Slide this out when I lift up. I'm going to take this other one out. Okay. Okay, so the blocks are out, the casters are able to roll around. I'm going to move this ladder out of the way. I'm going to put some cardboard down. I'm trying not to scratch the surfaces, the powder coated surfaces of the lift. So we're going to put some cardboard over here. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to lift that corner as Kobe guides this side. I'm going to lift it and pivot it around so we can get it ready to lift up and put up on top of that other beam. So make sure this side doesn't kick out. I think it should be fine. I'm going to lift up right here. Yep. There's just the caster setting in place. I'm going to use this. Wiggling a little bit to try to get it directly across from the other one to make it a little bit easier to bolt up. You move that block, slide that back. Okay, now I'm going to set this down. Okay, it's a little crooked. I'm going to move this over a little bit. Okay, so that's all done. This is all ready to go. Now I need to lift this bottom half, or this side, and put it up on top of that, that support. This is going to be the tricky part. So Kobe, let's put blocks behind here, another block behind the other side. Just so it doesn't kick out. I'm going to keep these under the wheels. So I'm going to lift this side up, and whenever this starts rolling in, just bump these pieces of wood against, keep them against the caster so they don't kick out. Let's see how this goes. I'm going to set it up on the ladder right now, or try to. And it's close. Okay, I'm going to try to get this thing up on top of here now, and then we'll get it lined up. You got those against the wood against it? Okay, here we go. Try this fast. Lift. Okay. We got it there. I'm going to see if I can get one bolt at least started.
You want me to lock the caster?
Not yet. Let me just see if I can get this one bolt in here. I figure if I get one in. Whoop, it's in the hole. Let me get the nut on it. Let me see if I can get one more. Oh, it's a little crooked. I'm going to see if I can twist this just a little bit without it kicking out. I'm going to unlock this one and twist a little bit. I would say if you have something up in your ceiling like a beam or something, well, you might not need this if you have that, but use that as an additional support. Okay. Okay, we got 2 in. That's pretty good. I don't think it's going to go anywhere now. Okay, so that actually wasn't that bad. I think that is a much easier process than the way that the instructions said to do it. Like I said, if you have something up in your ceiling that you can support this with, you actually might be able to put like a come along or something on it to help lift it so that you're not trying to walk up a ladder with it on there, and it would be a little bit safer too. Obviously this wasn't the most safe way to do it, but it wasn't too bad, especially with the helper. So I'm going to get the rest of the bolts in. We're going to get it all tightened up, and then we'll show you there's a couple of cross supports that we have to bolt on, and then that's it. We're going to put the trolley on next, hook the chain hoist up to it. This particular unit, I think it is. You can see the rods that are sticking through there, the stops. This is at its lowest point. I don't know if you can. You might actually be able to take that out and set it on this little piece of angle. I'm not sure, but one of the issues with this unit is it is a little bit taller than like the unit, like I was saying, that they sell at Summit or Jegs. If you have it at its lowest unit, I still think it's above 8 foot. So if you were trying to roll it from inside your garage out, you're probably not going to be able to. I think the beam would hit it, which is unfortunate. But maybe I'll test it. We'll measure it. If you take these pins out and lower it just a little bit, it looks like there's probably about 2 inches. It might just clear. So we'll test that. And then I think it goes from whatever this height is, like 8 feet 2 inches, up to like 10 feet 4 inches or something like that. I'll double check that too. But that was the one issue. It doesn't look like it could roll onto the garage door. So we'll check that measurement and we'll give you an update here in a minute. Okay, last piece of this is putting in the supporting rods. So you put one of these in on each side, here, and then 2 on that side, and bolt them up. So I'm going to do that, and then this unit will be done. Let's see if we can get it rolling. Perfect, okay. Now, try to do the same thing with this one. Down.
But now
Wait,
it's
like
stop.
What's it doing? Hold on, let me see it. I can't.
It's not blue. I'll try.
There's the hole. Right
Did you get it?
there. No, so here. It's part of the way in the hole. Get down, let me lift up on it. I need you to try to push it. Oops, sorry, the rest of the way. Wipe my hands off, wipe parts off.
Dad, I can just make something really cool. I Superman. If you were just doing this for decoration, then you wouldn't even have to bolt the top black one, because if you lined it up right, then and you set it up on top, then you could just do that, but you had to bolt it so it stays together.
Yeah.
You never took off that sticker.
What sticker?
The Pittsburgh Automotive.
Oh, okay. I took one of them off.
There's still one on the black beam.
That's fine.
Can I go up?
Yeah. Okay, we got the uprights in place. You probably saw there was a little finagling. I ended up having to loosen the bolts at the bottom of each of these uprights in order to get the bolts of the 2 supports set correctly. So obviously you could get one side in, but when I went to get the bottom ones in, the holes were a little bit off. So I loosened these 4 bolts around the center upright just a little bit, enough to give me a little bit of play, and with the help of Blake, I was able to lift up or push down, and he was able to put the bolts in. One thing I just noticed though, as I was getting ready to retighten these center bolts, is apparently the lock washers, if you can see this one, they come with it are garbage. So I would be hesitant about that. The lock washers should not flatten out like that. So I have some other lock washers here. I'm going to put them on there. These really, in my opinion, should be grade 8. Okay, sorry, the last thing that we need to do, I forgot before I put the trolley on, is put the handles on. There's a handle that goes on either side. There's a little set screw that holds it in place, and you'll see there's a little groove, if you can see that right there. So it only goes on one way. The set screw uses a 10mm wrench. It's got a 10mm head on it. So I'm going to slide that in. I'm going to tighten it up. And then once it's tightened up, we are good to go. We could actually start raising and lowering this unit. Now, as you probably would have guessed, you have to have a person on either side. You can't do it from one side, so you're going to need 2 people for this portion of it. You get a person on either side, they crank it, it's going to go up and down. There are safety pins on either side. You're going to need to pull that out. So once you raise it up and get a little bit of tension on these cables, you pull the 2 pins out. You can raise it or you can lower it. Whenever you get it to the point where you want it to be, there's holes in here. There's 2, 3, 4 holes, something like that, for this to go up and down in. You put the pins back in. You take a little bit of the pressure off the cables. You're good to go. You never want to try to lift anything when it's only on the cables. Cable supports, you always want these safety pins in place. For storage, I'm thinking I'm probably going to take these handles off because I have a tight space on the other side where I'm going to wheel this over to. So I'm probably going to end up welding a set of hooks or a little eyelet so I can take this off and set it right in there. That way these aren't sticking out either side. So I'll do that another time. The other thing you want to do is make sure that everything is level. I'm not really sure how you would adjust it. In the instructions it says to put a level on here and make minor adjustments until the unit is level. Again, I'm not really sure how that goes because you have these pins that you can't adjust, so it's going to be there. Now I did throw a level up on the beam and checked it with the floor. My floor has a slight slope going to the drain. That beam has the same slight slope. It's just very little bit, so I'm not going to worry about this. That's all going to be fine. So the way it sits right now, it's all done, and I'm going to get ready to put the trolley on, so that way we have something to hook the chain hoist to, and then we'll be ready to actually lift something with it. Sorry, one more thing that I wanted to mention was the height, because I mentioned it earlier in the video. So from floor to the top of the I-beam is 8 feet 3 inches. This area right here between the bottom of this little structural like I-beam piece of steel and the top of this column is about 1 3/4 inches. So if I do need to wheel this under a door or under something else, you could take these pins out and lower it down a little bit. At least it seems like you should be able to. You're going to pick up about 1 3/4 inches. So that's going to take it from 8 feet 3 inches down to about 8 feet 1 1/4 inches. So somewhere in that range. So if you're looking at overall height, you're going to have a hair over 8 feet 1 inch. I think in the instructions or in the original description I read, it said about 8 feet 2 inches. So that's probably about right in case there's like a little hump in the floor or something. Now you could take the casters off and lower this down. That's going to be kind of a pain, but if you really had to, you could. But that's about it. So if you have a door opening that you're trying to wheel this in and out of, that's about the height that you're going to have to try to work around. Now I'm getting ready to put the trolley in place. Okay, so here's the trolley. I picked this up from Harbor Freight as well. This is the 1-ton trolley. Let me see, I think it says that on here. Yep, 1-ton trolley. So they sell a 2-ton as well. I'm guessing if you have like another steel beam in your house or somewhere else, but since this is a 1-ton gantry crane, I went with the 1-ton trolley. So it looks pretty simple. I just need to take these 2 nuts off. These are spacer washers. I'm going to take that off, and then I have to count out an equal number of spacers, slide those out. So we're going to take that all out, and then we slide one side on, we put the spacer on, we put our hook support in, put the other spacer, more washers, put this side on, and put the nut on. So I'm just going to put that together and then put it up on the unit. Okay, so the instructions actually tell you how to set the washers or the spacers on here, depending on the width of the I-beam. So it's actually a little bit different than what I thought it would have been. I thought you would have made it even, but that's not the case. This I-beam is a hair under 3 inches, so there was a setting in there for 2.9, so that's what we're going to go with. And that gives you, what it's going to do is it's going to give you the right spacing on either side so that the wheels on the trolley sit correctly on there. So this one was a little bit interesting. So for the center shaft, it's actually showing that I'm going to set this outside part of the trolley on here. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to get it set up in here. And then I'm going to put the shaft straight through, so no washers on the outside of that. It says to put one washer on the inside, put my spacer, put my hook loop, or whatever they call this, put my other spacer, put my other washer, and then set this side of the trolley on. And then once all of that is in place, we're going to put the remaining spacer washers on the outside of this. So they're all going to go on the outside of this, and then we're going to secure them with the 2 nuts that were on there. So I hold that up. I'm going to get these spacer washers all put on here. And then I'm going to put the 2 nuts on. And then once those are on by hand, I'll get some bigger wrenches and we'll tighten this up. Actually, I'm going to leave it like that for right now until I get that one tightened up. And you can see it start, if I let go of it, it starts to want to roll that way because of the slight slope that I have on the floor. So we're going to tighten this up. Okay, I'm going to tighten it up. This is actually larger than any open end or box end wrench or any crescent wrench that I have. So I'm going to use some channel locks for right now, and then I might put a pipe wrench on this later and just make sure it's tight, as tight as it can get.
Okay, so we finished building the crane and set it up. We also put a trolley and a chain hoist right here, and this is how it spans a vehicle.
Yep. Yeah, you can see we brought the Raybuck truck in. Give you a little bit of an idea. It's, well, there's how wide that is, and on that side. So we have a lot of room, and we have the casters again. We can move it all around.
Thanks for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.